What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 3 best builds in Hades 2. Now, if you've been spending time in the underworld and the surface alike, then you already know how flexible and chaotic this game can be with all the boons, arcana, keepsakes, familiars and the weapon aspects. But some builds rise above the rest by combining consistency with the ridiculous damage and just enough survivability to keep you alive at the highest fear levels. So no matter if you're a beginner or a speedrunner, these 3 builds will give you everything you need, from insane DPS numbers to great defenses and so much more. And remember, if you want to try any of these builds out, then check my links in the description. Also, if you're interested in buying other PC or console games with 50 or 70% discount, then check out Instant Gaming. For example, I want to buy Elden Ring, so we just click on Add to Cart, then click Pay, then input our details and pay. After payment is complete, we will receive activation key, then copy and paste the key in, and it's that simple. So what are you waiting for? Click my link description and check out Instant Gaming for yourself. So let's move over to the first build. The aspect of the Charon is a standout choice when you're looking to combine raw power with the clever magic management. It's the part of the Zord weapon line, but completely separates itself from the other aspects because of its synergy between the Omega Special and the cast, which is fueled almost entirely by the Lucid Gain. What makes this so effective is the consistent cycling, so you drop your cast, then charge up your special, and then the magic you spend immediately will flow back thanks to the Lucid Gain. At the higher rarities, this essentially means endless magic, allowing you to push massive burst rotations with very little downtime. The starting loadout is flexible, but many players will prefer the Arcana setup, that includes the Messenger 8 for invulnerability during the cast placement, or Eternity 4 for slowing down tough enemies like the Chronos. If you want extra damage or survivability, then mix in the Lovers 15 or the Swift Runner 11. For keepsakes, the Harmonic Phantom is your bread and butter early on, while options like the Iridescent Fan, Barely Sheaf or the Vivid Sea will let you target specific gods depending on your padding. Late game survivability can come from Knuckle Bones, Engraved Pin, or even Blackened Fleece if you want a cheeky Omega First buff. As for familiars, most of them will technically work here, but Rocky will feel like the strongest choice, as his pecking synergizes with your burst combos. You wanna avoid Hekuba, as Lucid Gain already handles all the magic sustain, so you'll gain little from her priming. Then Tola or Gale will remain defensive alternatives if you're stacking that or the Strength Arcana. Then on the boon side, the Lucid Gain is non-negotiable. It's the core of the playstyle, making the entire O special or the O cast combo loop possible. Beyond that, your special boon options will split between the Sworn Flourish, which applies hitch and melts groups, or even the Nova Flourish, which extends range and feeds directly into the exceptional talent. Then for casts, the Tidal Ring, Engagement Ring and the Solar Ring all will shine, with Tidal Ring being especially deadly when paired with the Denial. Then additional firepower comes from the Determin's Local Climate, or the legendary Geyser Spout, which elevates Omega cast damage very sky high. When it comes to pumps, you want to upgrade Lucid Gain first if you get a common version, otherwise focus on your special cast and the Geyser Spout. Then Hammer upgrades are simple but game changing. The Giga Clever will ramp up your Omega special, and even allow the double cast trigger with good timing. Then Sudden Clever will make everything faster and safer. From Chaos, you want to prioritize Flourish, Chasm and Revelation, or even Chant, as all will synergize with your Omega core. Then Hermes will add speed with Racing Thoughts, survivability with the hard target, or crit potential via success rate if you're mixing in Artemis. And speaking of Artemis, the Shadow Pounce will win over Killing Shout due to its weather application and non-priming effect. And finally, to round things out, the Hex choice usually goes to the Lunar Ray, by giving extra damage and a buffer or safety. With all of these pieces together, the aspect of the Charon will become a versatile powerhouse, excelling in both casual clears and high fear runs, thanks to its near endless burst of cycle and mix of survivability and control. Then next we have the aspect of the Melinoa build. If Charon thrives on burst combos and magic cycling, then aspect of the Melinoa shines through the pure versatility and straightforward execution. This build keeps things simple. You pair the strongest single target attack boon with a high damage special, and then rely on your long range dash attack and naturally heavy special base damage. The result is a chaos in motion, so fast, safe and brutally effective at any fear level. So starting off, the keepsakes matter here, and Cloud Bangle is a perfect opener. It forces Blitz, which is one of the most universally powerful attack upgrades, by setting up your run immediately. However, if you rather gamble for the Aphrodite's power, then Beautiful Mirror can line up devastating synergies. As you move through the biomes, you wanna adjust what you need, so Fig Leaf if you're running on the timer, then Vivid Sea for Poseidon's access, or defensive staples like the Harmonic Phantom or the Barely Sheaf. For the late game, survivability is king, so Engraved Pin, Lucky Earth Tooth or the Gorgon Amulet will give you the tools to survive boss fights comfortably. Then Familiar Choice leans towards Tula, as the extra Death Defiant stacks with the Athena's Renewed Fate, giving you very insane levels of survivability. Then Gale is another option if you're running Strength Arcana and prefer the extra sustain. And speaking of Arcana, this build generally avoids Omega moves, so the Wayward Sun 2 is forwarded over the Sorceress 1, and you'll still want the standard reroll corner package, so the Boatman, then Handstress, the Champions and the Seer, alongside survivability picks like the Death 12 or the Strength 23. And then we finish it with Persistence 7, and either the Artificer's 18 or the Lover's 15, which depends on your comfort for the boss fight. Then Boon selection begins with the attack slot and the Heaven Strike, which is the absolute best here. Its raw power and the curse application makes it an instant top pick. For specials, the Flutter Flourish will stand out with insane percentage scaling, especially when paired with the dual Moonshot for the deadly double hit. The range penalty will become irrelevant since your playstyle revolves around the dash attack and then special anyway. However, if the Aphrodite or the Hera doesn't show, then fallback options like the Nova Flourish will still keep your damage competitive. Then casts are flexible. The Tidal Ring and the Arctic Ring will provide standout value for damage and the safety. On the sprint slot, the Blinding Rush is the premier choice, by combining speed, mobility and the curse application. Then Frigid Rush follows closely behind, by offering strong projectile control. Gains aren't essential here for the magic sustain, but Glamour Gain will add weak application, enabling synergies with the Broken Resolve and the Sweet Surrender. Then from Hermes, Travel Deal and the Quick Buck will help to fill gaps in your build, while Nitro Boost and Hard Target improve survivability. And then for pumps, you wanna focus on the Flutter Flourish and the Heaven Strike, and then spread upgrades across supporting boons like the Double Strike. Then as for hammer upgrades, you wanna transform the run, so Dual Moonshot is the dream, which multiplies our special damage. However, alternatives like the Melting Swipe or the Shimmering Moonstone will also keep the power flowing, while early options like the Rapid Thrasher will provide consistency. Overall, the gameplay loop is simple yet effective, so early game revolves on attack, then attack again and then special for the room clearing, while late game will transition into the dash attack and then special, to compress all of your power into one safe combo. You can also add in origination via curses, and you'll always be scaling. The aspect of the Millinois build is fun, powerful, and refreshingly straightforward. And then for our final build, we got the aspect of the Circe, which is a weapon that only has grown stronger since its rework. What makes Circe so incredible is how safe and consistent it feels even at a higher fear. Its defining feature is the double cast mechanic, paired with the physics leash. Don't underestimate this leash damage, as it can rack up massively when you position enemies correctly between yourself and the familiar. The key to playing Circe is movement and awareness. With Reiki, you'll naturally be rooting around enemies and creating consistent opportunities to maximize the leash sticks. Against bosses like the Cerberus or the Typhon, you wanna place casts carefully and wait for the moments when they're locked in the recovery animation to guarantee that the both casts connect. And then against standard mobs, the leash unlimited range will allow you to shred crowds by aligning multiple enemies between you and the bird. Misplacing a cast can waste huge amount of damage, so patience is key. For keepsakes, the Cloud Bangle or Everlasting Ember are the ideal starters, as they ensure access to your desired cast. However, if you can, then reroll up to twice in the Erebus to lock in the Lightning Lance or the Glowing Coal early. From there, use keepsakes flexibility, so defensive ones like the Lucky Earth Tooth or Engraved Pin, while God forcing options will help to secure duos like Burning Desire or the Freezer Burn if you're leaning into the Hestia variant. Then familiars are limited, so stick with the Reiki for reliable damage, or Tula if you want the extra survivability through the Dead Defiance. Our Arcana page prioritizes the Messenger 8, since its one ability lets you reposition during the cast placement, so combine this with the Swift Runes 11 for mobility or Origination 14 for the global damage scaling. And survivability can also come from the Lovers 15, especially if you're pushing the higher fear rival fights. On the boon side, there are two major variants, so Zeus or the Hestia Hestia. With Zeus, you focus on the Storm Ring and the Double Strike by creating massive chain lightning bursts that pair beautifully with the double casts, and then the Heaven Strike or the Heaven Flourish will keep your melee slot strong. However, if you roll into the Hestia instead, then build around the Smolder Ring or the Pyro technique. But then we will have to chase duos like the Freezer's Burn by picking a Freezer or the Temeter. In both cases, a ranged cast like the Glowing Coal will make positioning easier, which lets you safely line up a leash and double cast damage. Then weapon hammers aren't as critical here as in other builds, but upgrades like the Rapid Thrasher, Rapid Moonshot, or the Wicked Thrasher will smooth out the fight. For Hex, Darksight is an underrated gem by providing invulnerability and a free breathing room during the cast cycles. Then Lunar Ray is another excellent option for the burst damage during repositioning phases. Overall, the real strength from the Cyrus build comes from how safe it feels. You're rarely forced into the melee range, and with good positioning, your familiars does all the work for you. Against bosses, your damage never really falls off, and against mobs, the leash will ensure that you're consistently controlling the space. And remember, no matter if you go with the Zeus Lightning route or the Hestia Scorch route, then Cyrus build dominates both the casual clears and the high-end fear runs.